been a while since I've done a sewing video, and I have been really in the mood to make myself a wrap dress. I recently purchased my first ever wrap dress from the Loft outlet a few months ago, I think last month or maybe the month before. Yeah, I really like this wrap dress that I bought. I think it's really cute. I think that it's really flattering. I've been feeling very kind of meh about my body and my overall shape lately because, you know, pandemic weight gain, etc. But yeah, so this is like the only dress that I feel really confident in right now. So I thought I would make myself another wrap dress. I bought myself this really pretty burnt orange, rusty, is it orangey brown colored rayon fabric a while ago. I bought a lot of it, so I probably will have extra to make something else. I'm not totally sure yet. But yeah, I thought this would be a really cute wrap dress fabric. And I went wild buying myself patterns like back in Christmas, I think, because they were on sale. So I bought myself this McCall's wrap dress pattern. So hopefully I will be able to figure out what size I'm supposed to be, which is always kind of hard because pattern sizing is not the same as like real life sizing because of vanity sizing, I think, and also because a lot of patterns are made to be a little bit bigger than they actually say they are, supposedly. I think McCall's is known for that, so hopefully this will work out. I'm not making a mock-up as usual because I am lazy and I don't like making mock-ups. So yeah. First I'm going to measure my body because I haven't done that in a while, and make sure that I know which size I need to cut out. I'm very excited. This should be a pretty easy project. I think wrap dresses are probably not very hard to make. If this is successful, I will probably make a lot more wrap dresses down the road because I like that they accommodate weight fluctuation and I like that they're cute. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna get started. Okay, so I've just measured myself. I think I am somewhere between a 12 and a 14. I'm going to unfold the pattern pieces and kind of guess which one I'm closer to once I unfold the pattern pieces. The only part that really matters here is the bust measurement because the hip measurement is obviously pretty loose since it's like a wider skirt. And since the wrap dress, I don't have to worry about the waist measurement. So the only thing I need to worry about is bust measurement. So I'm right between this one and this one. So it turns out I bought the patterns for these sizes. So I guess I will just cut out the 14 because if I'm between a 12 and a 14, I only have the 14 here. I guess it makes the most sense to cut out the 14 and just take in wherever I need to take in later. So I will take my sweet time cutting out lots of pattern pieces, and then I will be back. So it took me, I think, about 2 hours to cut out all of the pattern pieces and to cut out the fabric, but we got it done. It's always the beginning part of a sewing project that always takes the longest, and it is my least favorite part of a sewing project. I don't like cutting out pattern pieces and I don't like cutting out the fabric, but now it's just the sewing part, and hopefully that's not too hard. The first thing that we need to do is to figure out which pieces are the bodice pieces because I currently have them all stacked up in a pile. I'm sitting on the floor because, as usual, the floor is the biggest workspace that we have. The first step is to pleat the bodice front and to stitch the darts in the bodice back. So I'm gonna find the bodice pieces and start putting things together. I decided to do a combination of view A and view B. So I am doing the skirt of View B. Yeah, the skirt of View B, but I'm doing the sleeves of View A. And yeah, hopefully it will be cute. I think it should be cute. It's pretty standard. It's like a little puffy sleeve dress. I'm going to start working on sewing, and I'm going to set up my sewing machine, which is currently sitting on the floor, and I will start sewing. I'm excited. Hopefully this project will come together pretty quickly. I looked through the pattern and the pattern instructions, and it doesn't look like there's a ton of instructions, so hopefully everything will go smoothly. I will again be trying to do as many French seams as possible, and kind of just closing in those raw edges, because I don't like doing the zigzag stitch thing. I think it's messy. I just think it looks messy, so I will be trying to do French seams as much as possible, and then where I can't, I'll probably hand fell, which is fine. I don't know. I don't mind hand felling things. I find it pretty therapeutic. So, alright. Progress update. We have darted the back. These itty bitty tiny darts, very cute. We did the pleats on the front, which I talked about earlier. And we also made these little ties for the wrap dress part, the wrap part of the wrap dress, if that makes sense. On each of the sides, like this. And on this side as well. This fabric makes it really hard for you to see anything. But yeah, so basically the last part I need to do now is to stitch the bodice front pieces, these two pieces, to the bodice back piece. And then I can work on the skirt. So yeah. Also, I just remembered that I forgot to cut out pocket pieces for my skirt. I am probably going to do that because I like pockets. So it's next day now, and I have finished making, well, the first part of the bodice. This is what it looks like. Yeah, I tried it on last night and it was really unflattering, and I was kind of worried, but I tried it on again today and it looked fine. So I don't know what happened last night. But yeah, so it seems to be okay, so I just I'm gonna keep going. I have started sewing the pockets onto the skirt pieces. So here is my skirt piece. They are currently sewn wrong sides together, and then now I need to trim all of the seams. I need to trim all the seams so that I can French seam everything, and then I will hand tack down the raw edge for the pockets. And that should be pretty good. Alan is cooking, so he's being very noisy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to work a little bit more on the skirt, and then I will come back with more updates. Okay, so as you can see, the dress is coming along. I have sewn the bodice to the skirt, and I tried it on. I think it looks okay. The bodice looks a little funky again. I'm not totally sure if I'm gonna love how the bodice looks, but we've already committed. So yeah, the problem is that is the pleats. Like there's no real darting on the front, it's just like these pleats that are, I guess, supposed to give it shape. But I don't know, what's with all these like pattern designs that think that pleats are substitutes for darts, because they're not. They don't shape you the way the darts shape you. But anyway, it's fine. If it's a little shapeless on the top, it's okay. It was a good attempt. It was a learning process. But yeah, so we're getting there. The next part, the next step, I am like really leaning so I can talk to the camera. Okay. The next step is, so it says to do the facing, to sew the facing together, and then it says to sew, okay, so I have to stitch the facing together, finish the edge, and basically just sew it to the bodice. Okay, it's fine, I get it. So yeah, these are the facing pieces, I'm pretty sure. Once I do the facing, I have to do the sleeves, and then I'm pretty much done. I just have to like do all the hemming and stuff. So yeah, overall, project doesn't seem to be too hard, which is good. The McCall's pattern has been pretty easy to like understand, which is also good. Alright, so I have finished the facing. Not that well, but that's fine. And I've sewn it on to the dress, and I have understitched it. It was my first time understitching. Basically what you do is you sew as close to the seam line as you can, and apparently it encourages it to fold over, and I think it did. Don't know. Yeah, I've never understitched before. It was my first time. You can tell, but that's okay because you can't see it on the outside, so it's fine. Now I have to do the most fun part of sewing, which is hand sewing. I'm going to tack down the facing at all of the seams, and I also am going to tack down the edges of the pockets because those are currently raw edges. So yeah, I'm really happy with this fabric choice. I think it's so pretty. I have some extra fabric left, so I don't know if I'm gonna make a skirt out of it or like a little peplum top or something. But yeah, I really like this fabric, so I'm happy. It's my first time, I think, working with rayon. It's very soft compared to the cotton that I usually work with, so that's a little bit of a change, but overall I think it's turning out alright, so that's good. I have been fussing with the fit of the dress and also working on the sleeves. So first I pleated all of the sleeves, and I still need to finish sewing up the side seam of the sleeve. I already sewed it wrong sides together, and then I'm going to trim it and then sew it right sides together so that it's a French seam. But yeah, so that's the easy part. The sleeves, I'm pretty sure, are gonna be super cute. I kind of like put them on top of my dress and it looks cute. The main issue right now is that, so I tried on the wrap dress itself, and the top part is super floppy, and also the pleats are like in a really weird spot. They're basically at my shoulder blade. I don't know if that's because I have really small shoulders. I don't think I do. But yeah, so basically the first thing I'm gonna do is take in the shoulders because the entire torso of the dress is too long. So there's like a really unfortunate gaping situation going on in the front, which makes it very, you know, not safe for work, not safe for life kind of dress. So I put it on, and I kind of roughly pinned where I want to take it in, so that gives me a good estimate for how much length to take in. And I'm just gonna taper it from here to the shoulder because I don't want to mess with the shoulder seam too much. And then also I might end up sewing all of this into the sleeve because right now the shoulder seam is super long and my shoulders kind of just end here. And also I hate the pleat. I think the pleat is stupid. I don't know why all of these brands keep making pleats in their dress patterns. The Animal Crossing dress that I made also had a pleat thing that I just kind of disregarded and turned into a regular darted dress. I should have done that with this, but it's too late now. So I'm trying to figure out how to make the pleat work. But I am going to first sew this up, try it on again, and see what to do about that. I also need to tack down the facing a little bit more. I tacked it down at the waist and at the shoulder seam, but this is still it's still like flopping out a lot. So I'm just gonna end up, I think I'm just gonna end up like kind of felling the whole thing down, because my stitches are tiny enough where I feel like you're not really gonna be able to see it. Yeah, that's the update. Al and I are gonna go and get some dinner. We're gonna order noodles from a nearby place. Very excited, because noodles are great. And then I will be back after dinner to finish this sewing project, because it really hopefully it should be done soon. I mean, really, once I figure out the fit issues, the rest should really be smooth sailing. Alright, so change of plans. I am so sad. I tried on, so I adjusted the shoulders and I tried it on, and it still looks really funky, and I hate the pleat. I think the pleat is so ugly. I just, in the original pattern, the pleat looks fine, but like, this drawing is obviously not realistic. Like, this is not how fabric falls over your body. So I'm really sad. I am currently basically taking apart the entire top part of my dress. I have been ripping the seams of this facing for about an hour and a half now, and I am not even halfway. And once I'm done doing that, I'm going to take apart the entire bodice, essentially, so that I can adjust the two front pieces. I'm very sad. I don't think this project was gonna be like a 2-day project. So far, it's looking like it's not gonna be a 2-day project, which means I'm probably gonna have to like put this away for a little bit and come back to it, because I really want to work on my shop update. So yeah, that's where we're at. Hello friends, it has been nearly a month, I think maybe more than a month, since I last picked up this project, but I think I'm finally ready to get it done. Yeah, I'm finally ready to get it done. So I think, I'm trying to remember where I left off. I unpicked the entire bodice from the skirt. Yeah, so I think this is the skirt piece and this must be the bodice pieces. I unpicked it because the pleat at the shoulder looked really stupid. It gave me a very baggy armpit here, which is not flattering. So I unpicked it, and I think the first thing I have to do today is figure out how to dart the bodice so that it looks more flattering. And I'm just gonna do it by pinning it onto myself. And then once I get the bodice figured out, I really think the rest of it should be easy, because I pretty much finished the rest of it. I just have to like put things back together. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so after a lot of pinning and accidentally poking myself in my shoulder with pins, I think I figured out that if I just extend these original pleat lines downwards into a dart, it should look right. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna test it on one side first, and hopefully it will shape to my body correctly. And then once we do that, we should be good to go. Hopefully this would be a very simple solution, so hopefully this actually works. The problem the droopy armpit problem has been fixed. I did what I said. I sewed the darts along the lines of the pleat lines from the bodice pattern. Now my armpits are no longer super saggy, which is great. So yeah, I'm really glad that I ended up taking all of it apart to do this, even though it made me sad and it was a lot of work. And now I just have to follow the steps again. So I'm just going to sew on the skirt, sew on the facing, sew on the, what's it called? Sleeves. Sew on the sleeves. I'm probably going to make some bias tape to cover the seam lines of the sleeve, because otherwise I really don't want to French seam sleeves. I think that sounds awful, just awful. So I think I'm gonna cover it with bias tape. So yeah, cue sewing montage, and hopefully we will get this project finished today after procrastinating it for a whole month. Hello friends, an update. Okay, I hand felled all of the facing down. I think it just looks so much nicer. The first attempt at this dress last time, before I seam ripped everything out, I did the understitching thing, and it was my first time doing understitching, and I probably didn't do it very well. And also this rayon fabric is like just really light, so it looked bad. So I just ended up hand felling all of it down. You can't even see it on the front, and it looks really nice. The other adjustment that I made to the pattern was I ended up having to add in an extra dart, which you can barely see because of this fabric. But I ended up having to add this extra dart here that goes up into the armpit, because there was still some slight like droopy armpit, and I didn't like it. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of hide it into the armhole and it will be fine. And then the last adjustment that I made was I ended up, so the shoulder seam was like this long, and my shoulders are just not that wide. I don't know anybody's shoulders who are that wide. So I ended up cutting it, trimming the entire shoulder seam down to about 3.5 inches, which is still a little long for me, but I figure it's fine once I added the seam allowance. And I sewed in the first sleeve, which is pleated. Nope, this is the one I seam ripped. Alright, I sewed in the first sleeve, which is pleated, but it's supposed to look like a puffy sleeve. Let me show you the picture. See how it's supposed to be like a poofy sleeve? It did not look like a poofy sleeve on me. It looked like it was flat on the top, and then the puff was in the wrong place. And it also wasn't that puffy. So what I decided was I was going to seam rip the entire thing, like all of the pleats out, and just gather it and make it a gathered sleeve, which I figured would look puffier anyway. But then I accidentally ripped a hole into the other sleeve that I was seam ripping, so I just recut the sleeves. I recut the sleeves, and I'm gonna put it back together, and I smoothed out the top edge, this edge, Here you go. I smoothed out this top edge because originally it's like kind of jagged because of the pleats, but I smoothed it all out. I'm just gonna gather it and then we'll be done. But yeah, overall, even though there have been a couple extra hiccups in the sewing process, I think it's all right. Yeah. Basically, I think we can title this video, wow, Cecile really hates pleats. Pleats look bad. I don't know. I'm like vehemently anti-pleat now. Except maybe like a pleated skirt. Pleated skirts are kind of cute. But yeah, other than that, pleated sleeves, no, I don't like them. Pleated bodices, why would you do that? So, that's my hot take. Alright, I am going to go eat dinner, and then we're going to work on finishing this dress once and for all. All I have to do is gather the sleeves, sew the sleeves in, gather the bottom of the sleeves, sew the little armband thingy on, and then hem the bottom. And I'll be done. And tomorrow, we will have a grand reveal, and it will be wonderful. And I will be done with this project. Hallelujah. Hello friends, it is the next day now and the dress is finished. Yeah, my last update was about the sleeves and I did end up gathering it. I think I maybe gathered it a little bit too much in the front, so the poof of the sleeves is like a little bit too forward. I think it would look nicer if the poof were a little bit higher, but it's okay. I also adjusted the armbands because the ones in the pattern are huge, and I have like really skinny noodly arms. So I adjusted them, and now they're slightly too tight. So I might end up going back in and taking out these little bands and just putting in elastic because I feel like that might be more comfortable. But yeah, and then the last thing that I did was I harvested some hooks and eyes from an old bra that I don't wear anymore. And I put in a hook and eye here, and then one here for the inner layer bit of the dress. And I think I could maybe put in one more here, but I only had two snaps. I mean, two hooks and eyes and that one bra, and I didn't really want to take apart a second bra. So yeah, or I could go and buy a snap, I guess, which would also work. But yeah, overall, it's done. There's a little loose thread. Give me a second. I'm pretty happy with it, especially given that I like kind of gave up on it halfway through the project, like a month ago. I think it's cute. I really like the poofy sleeves. I like that I adjusted it and turned it into a gathered sleeve rather than a pleated sleeve. The pleats just look really bad. That's what I've learned. I've learned in this making of this project that pleats are the worst. I hate them. I hate making them. I hate how they look. They suck. I have a little bit of this fabric left over, so I think I'll probably make a little, I really want to try and make one of those like cute little like baby doll tops with like puffy sleeves. So I was thinking about making that. I'm not sure. You all already saw the challenges that I had while making it, so yeah, you know about that already. And what else? I did something kind of weird with the pockets. I don't know, I haven't figured out a great way to make pockets, like the inseam pockets in skirts and dresses without doing the zigzag stitch thing, which I don't like doing, to finish the seams. So I feel like the pockets don't like flow very well. If you look at, you can kind of see where the pockets are. I don't know. But overall, I think it's pretty cute. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna wear it. Yeah, I'm glad this project is done. That's the end of this video. It's been a month-long video making process, mostly where I procrastinated fixing the dress. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching my sewing struggles. I need to clean up my whole area. I will see you next week with a studio vlog. Yeah, see you later. Bye.